Hi, Diane.
Hi, Addie. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited about today's conversation.
Me too, me too. It's a great topic. It's a topic that's often not talked about, but I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah. So, for everyone watching, this is the Empress Addie podcast. And then this title episode is Becoming Who You Are or Becoming Who You Already Are, a conversation on spiritual identity and inner truth. Welcome back to the Empress Addie podcast. This is episode 4. I'm already on episode 4. This is a space where truth is honored, softness becomes strategy, and ancestral wisdom guides every step. So today's episode is about remembering who you are, beneath the expectations, beneath the programming. And it is an honor to be joined by someone whose spiritual work is deeply rooted in both love and clarity. So, Dr. Diane is a spiritual mentor and transformational life coach. Her work has helped many people return home to themselves. She holds space for people navigating grief, awakening, transition, and alignment. Today, we are diving into what it truly means to become who you already are.
Mhm.
So let's get into it. Dr. Diane, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Any opening thoughts?
Um, I'm excited again, like I said, I'm excited to talk about this particular conversation. Just a little bit more about me for those that are not familiar with my work. I am a life coach. I like to kind of consider myself a spiritual wellness advocate.
Mhm.
Um, my work has been designed and rooted in becoming who we naturally are, anyways, or return to that. So, in my work that I do with my clients, I'm always instilling those kind of ancestral practices that have been rooted in um, African traditional religions, that have been rooted in all sorts of things that, we have been separated from, but it's more so about a return back to ourselves,
Nice.
teaching women some sort of rituals or practices that they can kind of embrace and take on for themselves so that they kind of find themselves waking up as spiritually aligned as possible. I know it's a practice, but nonetheless, it's something that is so important and transformational for our just everyday lives and living.
Hmm. So let's start at the root, Dr. Diane. We do it all. So, how many of us are told to embrace our authentic self, right? But it's not always that simple, Dr. Diane.
It's
So,
not.
what does that mean to you, and what do you say to women who doesn't know what that self is yet? To the woman that doesn't know what that is, or who the self is yet.
So when we often talk about embracing our natural selves, getting back to us, um, what we need to talk about is really a return to coming back to who we already are. It's not about reinventing ourselves or becoming something new, but more so about remembering of who we naturally are, tapping back into being still, listening to ourselves. I like to refer to my inner self as a she. So listening to her, listening to what she has to say, trying to separate my ego from what my higher self is actually telling me. So it's a remembering, it's a peeling back, it's more so about peeling back those pains, those experiences, getting rid of those old stories that we never had for ourselves, that other people placed on us and told us
Yeah.
this is who you are, as opposed to, no, I'm not going to claim that. This is
Yeah.
who I truly am. And this is how I am now going to move as I move back to being who I was already from the get go, from the beginning.
Yes, yes. But what about all the noise? The noise that we hear in the world, the programming that
That
tells us who we should be, right? How do we begin to discern between our soul's voice and that voice of society,
that's
family, or
hard.
trauma? Yeah. How do
That's
we?
hard, especially as women. You know, at the core of my excuse me, at the core of my practice with my clients is really remembering who you are before the world told you who to be.
Yeah.
Especially as women, living into those societal expectations that you're supposed to be this by a certain age. You're supposed to be having babies. You're supposed to be also be running down the household and taking care of him and taking care of me and taking care of them kids. And then it's just kind of like, well, what about me?
Yeah.
Well, all that is noise. But then how to discern from your true inner calling, inner voice versus all of the noise out there in the world that's constantly being thrown at us. It's really about, for me, taking a step back, pausing, reflecting. And when I do hear that noise, is literally checking myself and like, is this in alignment with me? Is this me talking? Or
Yeah.
is this, someone else saying something? Is this something my mom told me? Is it
Yeah.
that, social media out here having me think I'm supposed to be team no sleep and I'm not supposed to be? No, that's trendy. That ain't me. So it's really about just taking a second and feeling the feels of what really vibes and aligns with you as opposed to what other people are telling you or what you feeling like this is what I should be doing because of that video I seen today and it got like 200,000 likes. And then it's just like, that's cool. But at the end of the day, is that realistic for me? Is that going to propel and excel my growth?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
That
it
part.
really, yeah, is this really for me? And I think just constantly checking in with yourself and asking yourself that is a way to kind of filter through the noise.
Yeah. And just this morning I was talking to a friend about that. We've been living this through this conditioning of what we should do and how we should be. And I often say your intuition will whisper before it screams. And I'm in a place of my life where my intuition has begun screaming. And this is why I'm here today. Anyone who knows me know I've been talking about a podcast for years now. And I began with a radio show. I've done blogging. I've done this and that. And it wasn't to just be a content creator. I can't just sit here doing reaction videos. Yeah, those are viral. People are following. Or, you have these content creators doing all kinds of foolishness. Some of it is fun, and I don't knock that. But that was not my calling. Just like 9 to 5 work is
Mhm.
not always where your spirit is aligned. And, so you're a spiritual mentor. I know you work with people on deep levels of transformation. What role does spiritual mentorship play in identity reclamation?
It plays a huge role. Oftentimes, too, we don't realize, and I'm kind of thinking about, because sometimes too, I don't always say, unless you're ready for it, I don't always, say that I'm a spiritual mentor. I'll just throw the generic term of, oh, I'm a life coach. I'll help you get your stuff together. But then
Yeah.
at the root of the trials, the tribulations, the challenges, the relationship issues that we're having, it's all rooted in how it is that we are in alignment with ourselves, how it is that we are in alignment with our heart, our mind. Um, and I think for me, that's the spiritual work right there. That's where the spirituality is deeply rooted in our own personal development, our own personal transformation. For me
Mhm.
too, when I was working on my PhD dissertation, I was working on spiritual self-care.
Yeah.
Realizing the spiritual self-care, it's not, and the self-care thing is sometimes it gets me a little annoyed. It's trendy. Self-care isn't about going to the spa, getting
Yeah.
a massage, getting your nails done. The self-care part is the protection part. The
Yeah.
self-care part is the preparation part. Because when you do, and life will always be life, but when you do go through those challenges, now let me call on those practices I was working on when I was good,
Yeah.
help me get through, the issue I'm going through now. Did you want to say something?
No, thinking about how I'm in that space right now. Remember, I'm in the writing phase, working on my lit review. I'm in candidacy for my PhD. And this is some days are tough. And when I say self care, I'm not thinking, oh, I need to go to the spa. I'm thinking I'm going to lay here and do absolutely nothing. Or I'm going to meditate today, or I'm really going to get into, and this is where, shadow work is another buzzword, right? We want to go deeper into our spiritual practice to heal those parts of us that make us feel unbalanced. So
Exactly.
we talk a lot about reclaiming our power, our time, our boundaries, but there's a quiet spiritual reclaiming too. Important. And the one that happens when no one is watching. Can you share a moment when you felt deeply spiritually lost and how you found your way back?
I think when I think about what really started my spiritual journey was, as with many women, it was a breakup from a relationship.
Mm,
I was with my high school sweetheart, and anyone that knows my story knows that I always reference this because after ending a somewhat almost 9 to 10 year relationship, at the end, I didn't know who I was. I'm
mm,
like, who was I outside of that person's girlfriend, right? So it was a moment where I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to move. I don't know the behaviors to get me back to wherever it is that I felt like I needed to be. And then while going through that, I didn't even realize that I was on my own spiritual journey. I was literally on a journey to rediscover who I was before I was in that relationship.
yeah,
Mind you, I was young, so it wasn't like I had a foundation of truly who I was to begin with. You know, as young people, we're figuring it out. We're going with what our friends are doing. We don't know who we are. So then
right.
it's just like to go into a relationship where everything was that relationship to me. Now that that relationship is gone, well, who the F am I? Like, who is Diane?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
So for me,
Huh.
that was a time where even though I didn't realize I was spiritually lost, I was spiritually lost. Other moment comes to mind when I had my son. I had my son at 6 months. And
Mhm.
although I had all my spiritual stuff, I was doing the work, I was doing what I needed to do. Having my son during the pandemic, having him completely by myself in a labor delivery room, him going through 79 days in a NICU, oh man, I didn't know what to do.
Oh man.
All of those practices that I was doing a little bit of it to kind of grow through this, but then it was time I'm just like, what am I supposed to be doing right now?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't get through this. I never prepared for this.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
were those moments where it was just, I had to kind of recall the things that I would tell my clients to do.
Yeah.
No matter what it is that you're going through, what is the positivity out of this situation?
Yeah.
For me, not necessarily in the moment, as I look back, I can
Yeah.
think I can kind of know that I was already doing it. I was looking for the positivity. Okay, you know what? Instead of, as women, when we are carrying children, we don't see what they're growing like on the inside of our bellies. But
Mhm.
here is my son born 3 months early. I get to see him grow, like literally in the NICU. Women
Mm,
do not have, that experience of physically with their eyes seeing their child grow.
that's
So
true.
that was one thing that I made light of.
Right. That's beautiful.
Something superficial. I ain't gain all that pregnancy weight because I had early.
Not that superficial.
I ain't have
You have to find the word. Okay, so what's the good out of this? Because I
exactly.
was about to say, Diane, is that part of spiritual bypassing? Because, like, for example, I had a very good dear sister mentor friend of mine who she she got in to me. She dug into me yesterday or 2 days ago. And that's because, we have something that we say in our culture. Um, a knife doesn't file itself. So, and then Jamaicans say iron sharpen iron, right?
Mhm.
And the reason we say that is because even as spiritual coaches, practitioners, we know all the things to do. And sometimes we're just too close to the wall to see, to be able to help ourselves when we're in crisis. But I commend you. I love that for you that you were able to organically do some things to help you get through that period. So let's talk about spiritual bypassing because is this an example of that? Because I know I've seen this and people confuse suppression with healing. Well,
Mhm.
what's the difference between emotional bypassing and authentic healing? Because I think I've been bypassing a lot of my healing, right? Thinking that I am healing or I am on my healing practice. And then, when I learned that I was never healing or that my healing is not complete, when I get triggered, I'm like, ooh, I thought I was healed from this.
But
That, right?
I think I did a little bit of the spiritual bypassing because again, too, in the moment of, being a first time mom and having my motherhood experience start off in a NICU and then definitely during like COVID in 2020, it was a lot of avoiding where everyone could look at me, be like, "Oh, you're doing so fine, you're doing so good." And I'm just like, I got to keep pushing. But I wasn't dealing with it. But then it was kinda like too, knowing that every time I went to the hospital and within maybe like 20 steps of my son's room, I'm like in tears because I'm just
Oh,
like,
I'm getting emotional for you right now.
me too. I'm like,
I cannot imagine.
I can't hold him. He's so
I got goosebumps. I cannot imagine.
it was tough.
Yeah.
I think,
Maybe to be with you.
yes, especially I think as Black women, especially we grew up in a church
Yeah.
ingrained in us that spiritual bypassing,
Yeah.
where again, we're often taught, pray and give it to God,
Yeah.
right? And then it's just like, okay, I pray, but then oftentimes too, when we pray, it it doesn't solve or get at the root of the issue. That thing that we're experiencing might go away, things might our circumstances might improve, but similar to what you said, you'll often find yourself triggered. But it's
Yeah.
just like we really heal and grow from that,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like when it comes to spiritual bypassing, that's something that we have to kind of be aware that we're doing it when we're doing it. And for those who might not be aware of what spiritual bypassing is pretty much when you tell yourself things like, let go and let God. Like, you don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to leave it up to God. Or, using phrases like, it is what it is. And it's just what it is, as opposed to, maybe you the problem. Maybe you need to do more work. Maybe you need to address this so that way it doesn't keep showing up in your life instead of it being like, Trayvon over there and what Trayvon did to you. And it's just like, okay, well, here's Trayvon again, but Trayvon's name is now, Peter, is Paul, is this. And it's just like, why am I keep going through the same situations because you haven't really healed from it because you've been bypassing it, you've been sweeping it under the rug. So spiritual bypassing is kind of like ignoring the things that we know that we need to internally deal with so that we can heal from it. So that way too, we're not often triggered. Or when we are triggered, we're just kind of like, it's just like like you said, wait, I thought I dealt with this. So that way you now know how to deal with it once those emotions kind of come up. Or you can kind of tell yourself, I'm healed from that. Why is that even coming up? Bye. That's what you tell your thoughts. And now you just kind of keep it pushing a more to behaviors that are more in alignment with how you should be, right?
And the birth isn't always pretty, Doctor.
Not.
But it's sacred, no?
It's sacred. I remember too having this conversation with my mentor where, the process of becoming saved looks very different for someone that is spiritually going through something or spiritually growing.
Mhm.
Where that is very ugly, that's very messy. You won't find yourself in a situation where it's just like, wow, I thought I loved this person, but maybe I didn't. Or, maybe this person isn't necessarily aligned with me anymore in terms of where I am growing in my life. So you'll lose friendships, you'll lose relationships because you're trying to better yourself. And it's, no shade to that person, but it's just that the vibrations are different. So when you
Mhm.
start vibrating higher, those lower vibrating energies, they'll accuse you, "Oh, you different. You act like
It's
you better."
all.
Mhm.
It's
And
all.
that is just that you're growing.
Yeah. Hmm.
So
So
it is pretty.
for me, yeah. And through every stage, I'm revolving friends and losing friends and gaining too. And then there are those who are there, lifetime friends. They're deeply rooted in your life and they come back. And when we come back together, it's like no time, no love,
You know?
nothing has passed. I have friends who I talk to every few months. And when we get on the phone, it's like we never missed a beat. And then you have those who you reconnect with and you realize you've outgrown each other or your ways of being is completely different. And that speaks to, and I think it's okay.
It
You're
is
not a right or wrong. It's not this person is no longer It's okay. It's just okay.
It
If I'm not your cup of tea anymore, I'm just not your cup of tea. What I struggle with, because I'm a bona fide people pleaser. I'm not ashamed to say that, because I know where it stems from, and that's my own healing work and walking and journey. I am a people pleaser. I'm a baby. I'm a baby of my family. So I'm a people pleaser, and I love to go above and beyond for everyone. And then sometimes I'm standing there like, okay, who's there for me?
Mhm.
And I think there's, I think it's both a sacred and a human unapologetic experience to say, you know what, that's okay too, you know? And then, the work with yourself, part of that self care is, how am I honoring myself right now? Is
That's
this, is
important
this
question.
serving me right now? And that's why people who love you, people who understand, people who are on the same vibrational frequency as you, they'll never be offended if you say, not at this time. They'll
Absolutely.
never be offended when they say, "I don't feel like talking right now. Can we talk another time?" Or, "I'm going internal and I really don't feel like dealing with any type of audio visual phones or nothing. I'm in my space right now." I have friends who've said that, and it's just I felt so wonderfully at peace that they were able to say that, knowing that I will still be there on the other side when
Mhm.
you're ready. And I'm like, just don't fall too deep in that rabbit hole, sis. I'm gonna check on you. I'm gonna keep calling you. If it goes 2 weeks and I don't hear from you, I'm gonna check on. Is everything okay? Do you just need a ear? An ear? And we need to be okay
We
with
do.
people not being available for us, not being at our beck and call. We need to be okay with people needing their space.
Mm.
They need grace as well. We
Absolutely.
need grace. I am so grateful for all the people in my life who give me grace, because I'm not always the best person. I know I talk a lot about healing and togetherness and oneness and consciousness, but I can be ratchet too. I can fall out of, favor with you based on my crassness or my lack of tact, you know? So for the woman listening right now, maybe she's tired, and I'm just going to revert back to you, Dr. Diane. Maybe the woman's tired. Maybe she's disconnected spiritually, or just burnt out, right? It's a lot going on in this world. And I was saying that cosmically, right? We're in a very chaotic period. What's one practice you recommend for us as women, reconnecting to our spiritual power, and not necessarily after trauma, but maybe just depletion? What kind of practice or exercise would you say could bring us back to center, to honing in on who we are, accepting who we are, being okay with all the facets of us?
Mhm. Great question. Beautiful question. Um, and we are living in, try to be politically correct. We are living in
No political correctness here, honey.
interesting times right now.
Hmm.
And I say that, by, self-disclosing, I am a news junkie. I listen to various different news outlets. I personally become enraged at some of the things that I hear that's going on around the world, in this country particularly, because I am the person that always advocates for equality for everyone. I don't give a damn how you look, who you're attracted to.
Right.
I'm about equality for everyone. I will always fight for the marginalized community because I believe in equality for everyone. So when there are instances where certain pockets of people are further being marginalized, or one particular type of people are just not doing great things, it bothers me. So for me, it's a constant checking in, and also putting the onus on me in terms of thinking, well, what can I do? And
Mhm.
I'm often asking myself, when I hear like tragic stories, what's the lesson in this? I kind of like to think of my existence, or everyone's existence, as, the universe. I am living in my world, and everyone else has a part to play in it. including you, including all of the ish that's going on in the world. But for me, it's just what bothers me might not bother you. So
Yeah.
how do I deal with everything it is that I'm hearing? So
Mhm.
I always ask myself, okay, well, what is the lesson in this? Especially when stuff has personally happened to me. What's the lesson in this? I recently had my car towed and it wasn't my fault. And I'm
Oh,
just,
hell no.
what is
I
the
repeat that.
because I could not understand this. Like, I ain't do nothing to no one. Why
I've
did it
been
happen?
pressing Hollywood Beach police
It was at my apartment. I'm just like, how you gonna tow my car in my apartment?
at your apartment.
Apartment. And so it's kind of like, okay, God, like, let's have a conversation. Why is this happening to me? I felt
Mhm.
myself, and I rarely ever get angry. I felt myself so angry. There was someone that I felt like needed to be responsible for this outside of me, and I
Yes.
couldn't find it. I'm
What
just like,
happened?
and even to this day, it's been over a week. No, it's going to be a week, and I'm just like, you know what? Maybe it was just maybe I'm not spreading enough with joy and light, so that's what I need to do. Like, something. And I had to be okay with that because I could not find, and things happen. For whatever reason, things happen. It,
Mhm.
because I wasn't following up on something, but I had to find the lesson in it. But for me,
Mhm.
it's just like when you have crazy things happen to you or just around you to people it's really like, well, what is the lesson in this and what can I do
Yeah.
to improve the situation or bring alignment, to bring light, to bring love if somebody else through it.
Yeah.
That's the most that that's the most that I could offer. And that's the most that
Yeah.
especially if you feel so helpless. Is
Mhm.
what can I bring? What can I offer to this situation? If I don't like that they're, banishing African American history books in Florida or not teaching it, I want to make sure that the kids that I'm exposed to know about the African history because that's the least that I can do.
We're
So,
gonna make sure we create a children's book series with the history books, and we're gonna do it, independently. Like
right.
that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, or
Oh,
even if it's, volunteering time to give back. It's because I
yeah.
feel like I'm student of law of attraction. I teach about it all the time. So it's kind of like what I'm putting out there, I want to be able to receive back. So the
Yeah.
more that I'm putting out there, and too, one of my greatest quotes is be the change you wish to see in the world.
Yeah.
So I can't be turning up and knowing that, turned up energy matches turned up energy. And like how we acting today. It's like, I'm because this is what this world needs more of.
Yeah. Well, when we feel like we're behaving the way our spiritual higher selves want to be in and things are happening to us, that's when every spiritual person be like, oh my God, they
I
should come
said,
out.
I be joking.
I'm like, what am I paying for? What lesson? What haven't I learned here?
Like, right?
What is this? And so we
Kind
guys,
of like this
oh
time,
my God, do I need to be humbled today?
right? There's times too, I'm just like, I'm gonna be human today. That's
Yeah.
spiritual side. I'm gonna just be human today.
That's bad.
I'm gonna get my emotions out. But that's okay because again,
Sacred
as
rage. I
much
talk about sacred rage.
exactly as much as we are humans, we're also spiritual beings experiencing what it is like to be a human. And I feel like, Jesus was the best mentor or teacher for that. How is it that we can do this thing called humanness and then also be of divine light and to be spiritual? There's
Mhm.
a balance. Jesus, he wasn't perfect too. He had his things. It's not all written in the
He was
Bible,
tempted. He was tempted. He
right?
made the right choice, but he was tempted.
But, we can all learn from that. But then too, it's also that's where we give ourselves grace, and then too, like it's okay to
Yeah.
throw a pity party. It's okay to behave a certain way with good intentions, though, right?
Yeah.
Even if
Yeah.
the intention is, I just need to let this out. I don't want to hurt
Yeah.
nobody, no harm to no one, but I just need to let this out.
I think we want to practice the same things that the same oaths that doctors take, because we're all healers in our own rights. Especially, I
Absolutely,
really feel that a lot of Black women are healers. They don't even know it.
yeah.
And so the motto is do no harm.
Mm-hmm.
No, and that includes yourself too, right?
Absolutely.
So how do we center ourselves, come back to ourselves? Finally, I just want to give them one spiritual practice, one or two. I know I just take long, deep breaths, and I do the how many? Hold it for 4 seconds, let it out in 8 seconds.
4 seconds, yeah. I call it a sweet 16.
Okay, I
Yeah.
hold. Yeah, yeah, we do the 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, and so I do that a lot, especially when I'm feeling, woof, I'm getting fired up. Sometimes I need to let the rage out, you know? And then sometimes I just turn off everything and sit in the silence because I want to hear my counsel. You know, I call them my people. I
Yeah.
have a whole board of directors, child, and I need to hear them ancestors. I need to hear my board, my counsel, and I need to listen to the source. And I just sit there in silence, and I say, I need help.
That
When I,
that
yeah,
that's the village. I call it my the village.
a village.
Village.
Yeah,
It
I need my people.
that kind of like African proverb that, it does take a village to raise a child. And if I am a child of God, I'm gonna call on my
And I'm
village
really
if
proud.
I don't hear any help.
Yeah.
For me, there are several practices that I do. It really depends on what it is that I'm feeling in the moment.
Mhm.
But overall, daily meditation. I often meditate in my car because
Mhm.
sometimes too I feel like, I live in a house with other people, and sometimes too
Wait a minute. Now, while you're driving, Doctor,
no,
Doctor.
no, 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 not when I'm parked in my car. No, no, I'm not
Oh,
driving doing that.
let's not do that.
No, be safe, be safe. Don't meditate with your eyes closed while you're driving. That's not safe.
I mean,
Thank you for allowing me to clarify. Yes, because I feel like when we live in a household with other people, people bring their energy. So there's times too where I feel like something going on and I don't feel safe to be vulnerable. So I'll just go in my car. My car generally has my energy or my son's energy, but mostly it's my car, so I'll always have my energy. I
oh,
often drive to a park where I'm surrounded by trees and I'll just let it go. I breathe, I'll do breathing practices. Breath work is amazing. Grounding. I love to put my feet on some grass,
yes, yes.
trees.
Mhm.
The way to energetically realign the physical chemistries that we have going on in our body, realign that with what Earth already has going on. Uh, but if I'm feeling upset, deep breaths always work for me. If
Yeah.
I'm feeling like lingering issues surrounding something, meditation, leaving that up to the ancestors, asking for guidance while I sleep. So therefore I wake up no longer with those feelings, but maybe feeling like a sense of closure or you know what, a better understanding of anything it is that I'm going through. I used to journal a lot
Mm-hmm.
because my nights kind of end a little hectic and I'm just be ready to get knocked out. I don't journal as much. But journaling is very, very therapeutic, especially if you feel like you don't have anyone to talk to. You have fears of being judged or you don't want people to know how you feel. Let
Hmm.
that shit out and on a page. Just let it go. Uh,
Yeah.
Moon ritual during the full moon is time to release. So
Mm-hmm.
often, if I feel like something been going on with me lately, when it's a full moon, I'll write the stuff out that I want to release, and then I'll go ahead in my balcony or wherever, and I'll burn it. I'll give it to the universe. Sometimes I take a little video recording so that if I am triggered by the same thing, I'll look at that recording and remind myself, you already let it go. Why are you focusing on it?
I
Uh,
love that. I love that. I
you-
need to do that.
I do that every end of the year. So that way, all the stuff that I felt like was still kind of
Yeah.
lingering for me that I dealt with in a year, I'll do that at the end of the year. Also for new moons is about new energy, bringing in, new ideas, new things that you want to focus on. So during the new moon's a time that I write my manifestation log. Like I literally, this is what I want. This is
Mm-hmm.
what I want in such and such days, or I'll write new affirmations for myself. So anything to kind of, and this is daily, it's weekly, it's monthly. So again, doing the spiritual work when you're fine is what's
Right.
gonna get you through them times that are difficult. So that
Right.
just
This is a
refine
continual work. This is not, oh, I'm in crisis. I need spiritual help. No, this is make it a daily practice.
exactly. So when you do go through those tough times, you're just like, dang, I kind of made it through that. And this was 4 years ago. I would have been losing my
Yeah.
but because you kind of do things that bring you back to center, bring you to more alignment, then it
Yeah.
helps you when you kind of go through those tough times.
Yeah. Do you have anything additional to add? That was brilliant. That was beautiful. Thank you for that.
No problem. Thank you for this conversation. I think I just want to add to remembering who you are truly is a putting together, remembering of who it is that you are at your truest core.
Mm.
remember, it's about being who you were before the world told you who to be. If you feel like you're struggling, trying to keep up with the Joneses on, the social medias, and you feel like those things aren't serving you or you're not being authentic with yourself, then it's okay to let that go and practice something that you feel like will be more in vibrational alignment with you.
Mm.
I hear about people doing crystals, candle work, meditation, yoga, even Pilates. Do a whole bunch of different things because you never know what's going to resonate with you and what you might find helpful. So
Mm.
keep at it, give yourself grace, and just know that you're fine just the way you are. You don't even need to be reinventing yourself. It's just more so about peeling through those layers and working through that.
Beautiful. Now, as you say that, I'm thinking, do you agree with this statement? When you are more in alignment with who you are, or when you're being your most authentic self, is when you're the closest to the divine. It's when your connection to the divine is there. Would you agree with that statement?
I absolutely agree with that. Because again, when you're in alignment, you might ask yourself, okay, in alignment with what? With God, with the
Mhm.
universe,
God.
with
Yeah.
all that is vibrationally acceptable to you being your best self, to you living your best life. That's what alignment is. When we get out of alignment, that's when we feel confused, we feel disconnected. But when we feel the presence of God, the presence of the divine, that's when we're in true alignment. So it's always that feeling that we have of being in alignment that we're always seeking. Remember, when we feel those moments of feeling happy, of feeling joyful, that's alignment. So that's
Mhm.
why we try to do those things, those behaviors that often give us those feelings. But if you're doing things that are not giving you those feelings, that's a question you need to ask yourself. Well, is this really in alignment with me?
Mhm.
I
That's
absolutely agree with
beautiful.
that statement.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Dr. Diane, thank you. I'm at a loss for words. Thank you for your wisdom, your fire, your presence. Thank you. This conversation was enriching to me. I hope it was enriching to all those listening, was enriching to my soul. And I know so many women who will see themselves in your words.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this opportunity to discuss this. It's something that, again, is not often discussed.
Yeah.
Sometimes, too, we don't even know what it is that we're searching for when it's just like, we need to stop searching. It's always been in us. We just have to rediscover that.
Amazing how we go so far, we try to learn so much. We dig into all types of other things when the answers are right inside of us already.
Yeah. And we know it too. Oftentimes, too, God, I just need you to tell me. And it's just like, you know what you need to do.
Hear it.
You
You're
just need
ignoring it.
information or you're scared
Mhm.
kind of
Or
do
you're doubting.
exactly you're doubting.
You're doubting.
Like at the end of the day, too, I always kind of tell myself and I tell other people, things always work out as they should.
Mhm. Mhm.
For your lesson, for your blessing, it's not for us to determine, but things work out as they should. And that's why I always say too, I hope things, not that I hope things work out for you, it's things will work out as they should.
I'd say yeah. And they're key words you want to say when you're praying or when you're meditating, manifesting, affirming what you need in your life. We have to be very careful of those words, the words that we use. I thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think this is one of many. Okay. So this is an open invitation that you can always come and sit with me, talk with me, and have some fun with me. To our listeners, if this resonated with you, like and share it, tag a sister. What I like to do before I sign off is, Dr. Diane, please tell the people where to find you and for the work and for, the services that you provide. You're very generous. I know you're a generous mentor, but you also do spiritual coaching. Can you let people know how to find you?
Yeah. So you guys can follow me on all things social at Coach Diane Marie. Currently, right now, I'm very active on Instagram as well as Threads. And you can also visit my website, drdianemarie.com.
Thank you. So, guys, tag a sister. All right. light a candle, get into your meditative practice today. It's Friday. You've had a long week. That's why they call it week. And if you have not yet, hit that subscribe button, all right? And notification bell so you never have to miss an episode. Come back to this when you want to remember who you are and the tips that Dr. Diane gave to just really be authentic, be you. So until next time, stay rooted, stay radiant, and remember, you are already becoming who you've always been.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.